Welcome to Romance Story Audio. In the midst of this fast-paced world, thank you for taking a moment to slow down and listen. We hope this brings you peace and comfort. Now, here is the story Romance Story Audio brings to you today. Please, enjoy. During a job interview, I saw my ex-boyfriend sitting at the head of the table, as the CEO. "What are your career plans?" he asked. My head was spinning with memories of us. My mind went completely blank, and before I could stop myself, I blurted out, "To become the boss's wife." If loving someone is a crime, then let heaven punish me. But please, don't let me run into my ex during a job interview. In the conference room of Silvertech Corporation, from the moment I walked in, my mind was a blur. Right at the center of the long table, across from me, sat him, my ex-boyfriend. In front of him, a sleek nameplate clearly displayed the words Chief Executive Officer. And the position I was applying for? Executive Assistant to the CEO. Liam Carter, my ex-boyfriend, used to be the young man I once supported financially. Now he's the CEO of a publicly listed corporation. Everything felt surreal. Liam and I first met during an overseas trip. We clicked instantly, and later found out we both lived in Chicago. After returning home, two grown adults with mutual affection naturally became a couple. I still remember the day Liam showed up at the door of my tiny apartment with his suitcase. His eyes curved like a crescent moon as he walked over and hugged me. "Sweetheart, I'm crashing with you from now on," he said. Just like that, he moved into my cramped little studio. Liam was a dream partner, handsome, considerate, and a great cook. In the beginning, we were truly happy together, but after moving in, he stayed home all day, jobless. My salary wasn't much, but it was enough for both of us to get by. Eventually, money became the reason we broke up. Liam had strong ambitions. Every night he went out drinking, hanging around the wrong crowds. It made it impossible for me to focus on work. I realized if I kept living like this, I'd lose my job. Forget supporting him, I could barely support myself. So I made the painful decision to end things. His eyes filled with disbelief, red from holding back tears. "Why?" he asked. I couldn't bring myself to look him in the eye. Pride held back the truth. I was afraid I couldn't afford to keep him, so I lied. "I'm seeing someone else," I said. "Being with you was just for fun, just for fun." That night, when I came back to the apartment, all traces of Liam were gone. No one waiting for me with dinner anymore. It was as if he had never been a part of my life. Back to the interview. I mechanically answered the first few questions, barely registering what I was saying. Then came that voice again. "Miss Harper, what are your career plans?" My mind, flooded with memories of Liam Carter, completely lost control. I blurted out, "To become the boss's wife." As soon as the words left my mouth, the entire room fell into silence. Pfft. Someone tried to stifle a laugh. That was when I realized what I had just said. I looked up at Liam Carter. He didn't say anything, just curled his lips slightly into a mocking smile. "Trying to sleep your way to the top, huh?" His eyes said it all. I was so mortified I wanted to vanish on the spot. I waved my hands frantically, internally screaming, "I'd rather die than say that out loud. What the hell did I just say?" What I meant was, I'll treat the company's interests as my own and think of the company as my second home. But all I got in return was a cold scoff from Liam. And with that, the interview was over. I couldn't for the life of me figure out how I still got an offer from Silvertech Corporation. Could it be that Liam wanted revenge? Was he planning to make my life hell? All those worries vanished the second I saw the number in my bank account. I mean, the salary was double what I used to make. At worst, I could suck it up a little. There's no way I'm walking away from that kind of money. Day one on the job. I already felt like a walking disaster. My spectacular moment during the interview had clearly gone viral within the company before I even stepped foot through the door. Some coworkers even came up to me jokingly, "When you become the boss's wife, don't forget to bring your girls with you. Get back to work, you have nothing better to do?" Liam's icy voice cut through the air like a blade. Everyone scattered like birds, leaving me alone, face to face with him. Traitors, the lot of them. His eyes signaled me to follow him into his office. I trailed behind him, completely unrestrained, just staring openly at his figure. His crisp white shirt hugged his broad shoulders and tapered waist perfectly. Those tailored black slacks emphasized his long, muscular legs, the kind I knew far too well. I swallowed hard. Thankfully, Liam only paused for a second before walking on like nothing happened. To be honest, I regretted breaking up with him not long after we split. Back then, I was financially stable and didn't understand the struggles he faced. Turns out, once you've experienced luxury, it's hard to go back. Especially when that luxury was someone like him. Serves me right. 30 and still breaking out like a teenager. As my assistant, he said, you're expected to keep your phone on 24/7 and report immediately when called. I cursed him internally, but smiled sweetly on the outside. Mr. Carter, what about overtime pay? I asked. He looked up at me, a sly smile forming at the corner of his mouth. This company rewards hard work. Perform well, and bonuses won't be a problem. Damn capitalist bastard. Suddenly, I felt like everything I'd done to him in the past wasn't excessive at all. Liam Carter flipped through the documents in his hand with elegant, unhurried fingers. Mr. Carter, if there's nothing else, may I excuse myself? I asked, trying to stay composed. Also, please stop spreading rumors around. Leave. That evening, Liam brought me along to a business cocktail party. Mr. Carter, a toast to you, a pudgy, middle-aged man said with a greasy smile. Here's to many future collaborations. Liam gave a faint nod and returned a polite, reserved smile, perfectly in character for someone of his status. Then, he gently slid the wine glass toward me. I took the hint and quickly picked it up. Mr. Vaughn, I smiled. Mr. Carter isn't drinking tonight. I'll drink on his behalf. With that, I downed the entire glass in one go. People kept coming up to toast Liam Carter, and I ended up drinking every single one of those on his behalf. I could usually hold my liquor well, but thanks to the breakfast punishment Liam served me that morning, I hadn't been able to eat a bite during lunch. Almost nothing in my stomach, and now too much alcohol. My stomach started to revolt. Mr. Carter, a toast to you, said yet another guest. I discreetly pressed my hand against my abdomen, silently groaning. This is it. I'm just going to accept my fate. I forced a smile and reached for the glass. But before I could raise it, Liam Carter took the drink from my hand and emptied it in one swift motion. Then he turned and continued his conversation like nothing happened. Well then, I guess I'm out of the picture now. Taking advantage of the lull, I snuck off to grab some food. My stomach finally started to feel better. As a new hire still on probation, I'd volunteered to drink for Liam Carter at this event. But for some reason, the more I helped, the darker his expression became. After the party, I staggered behind him, nearly falling over. He caught me just in time. I mumbled something incomprehensible. Thanks. Home. You still live at the same place? He asked. I nodded dumbly, smiling like a drunk idiot. He let out a soft sigh, so soft I almost didn't catch it. Still the same mess. A Bentley sliced through the night, pulling up in front of the old apartment complex. Is your boyfriend home? He asked coolly. I blinked at him, all innocence. But aren't you right here? Liam reached over and pushed my face to the side. We've already broken up, but somehow, the way I said it, I sounded just like a bitter ex-wife. And then, out of nowhere, I started sobbing, loudly. Through the tears, I began singing in a half-drunken tone, Goodbye, no regrets. I wish you happiness. You'll find someone better. My outburst caught the attention of nearly everyone nearby. Unable to take it anymore, Liam Carter simply scooped me up and carried me inside. In his arms, I was far from cooperative. My hands wandered without shame. What happened to your perfect abs? I murmured, poking at his chest. "Why's there a zit here?" Liam's voice was low and raspy. "Stop messing around." But I didn't. I even pinched the spot harder. With a sigh of frustration, he hoisted me over his shoulder like I was a sack of rice. Once we were inside the room, he tossed me onto the bed like tossing out an old pillow. Somehow, during the struggle, a few buttons on my blouse popped open, revealing soft, pale skin under the dim light, creating an oddly intimate scene neither of us could ignore. Liam's gaze lingered and his expression tightened. In my tipsy state, I clumsily tried to undress myself, failing spectacularly with the clasp of my bra. A familiar pair of hands reached behind me, unhooking it with ease. That one simple action made me tremble. I turned toward him, wrapped my arms around his neck, and stared into his eyes. "This can't be real," I whispered. "Why do I always dream about this again?" Liam's lips curled into a faint smirk. He leaned down closer. In a deep, magnetic voice, he whispered, "Do you want this?" My cheeks flushed. My hands trembled. I gave him the softest nod. "You started it," he said. And then he kissed me, hungrily, fiercely, like he'd been holding back for years. His lips claimed mine with such urgency it felt like we were being swept into a storm. I couldn't resist. My strength melted away, and I sank deeper into the moment. "I'm taking you to shower," he murmured. "No," I mumbled sleepily. "Why would I need to shower in a dream?" He didn't let me object. He carried me straight to the bathroom. The warm steam from the shower quickly wrapped around us both. Liam pressed me gently against the cold tiles, sending a shiver through my spine. He leaned in, kissed me again, and whispered things I couldn't quite make out, his voice blending with the sound of running water. Our breathing quickened. Everything blurred into warmth, closeness, and unspoken words. The next morning, sunlight poured through the windows, soft and golden, falling on two bodies tangled in each other's arms. But the peace didn't last long. My phone buzzed loudly on the nightstand. Someone shook me. Annoyed, I swatted at their hand, mumbling, "5 more minutes?" But they kept shaking me, firmer this time. "It's your phone," a familiar man's voice said. He hung up my phone for me, then calmly got dressed. Bang. The door slammed shut behind him. And just like that, he was gone, leaving nothing but the cold outline of his back in my memory. It took me a while to fully wake up. So, it wasn't a dream after all. Thinking back on the intensity of last night, I rubbed my arms and laughed to myself like an idiot. But the phone kept ringing. I picked it up, still smiling, only for my expression to freeze the second I saw the caller ID. My husband. My blood ran cold. I rushed to the office, running straight into the CEO's office. As I opened the door, I blurted out, "Liam Carter, you left so suddenly this morning. Can we please talk?" 3 people turned to look at me at once. The VP, the director, and of course, him. I froze. "I'm so sorry to interrupt. Please carry on." I tried to quietly back away, but Liam called out, "Stay!" I stopped in place like a deer caught in headlights. "That's enough for now," he said coldly. "We'll pick this up later. You're dismissed." The VP and director walked out, both sneaking side glances at me, eyes filled with meaning, as if saying, "We get it," loud and clear. I stood there, paralyzed with embarrassment, wondering what kind of mess I'd just walked into. Liam loosened his tie, clearly annoyed. "Tracy," he said coldly, "let's pretend last night never happened." My heart dropped. "No, wait. I think you misunderstood," I said, desperate to explain. But he cut me off. "If you want compensation, just say it. Be direct. As for anything else, don't get your hopes up." His words were like a slap in the face. I stared at him, trying to understand if he seriously thought I was after his money. Then let out a bitter laugh. "So that's what you think I came back for? Money?" He turned and walked toward the giant floor-to-ceiling windows, gazing at the chaotic Chicago traffic below. "Tracy," he said quietly, "maybe we were never from the same world to begin with. My eyes stung. I could feel the tears welling, but I clenched my jaw to keep my voice from trembling. "You don't have to worry," I said, my tone calm and restrained. "From now on, I'll know my place. I won't dream above my station again, Mr. Carter." With that, I turned and bolted out of the office, straight to the restroom. There, I cried my heart out. It was messy, ugly, but necessary. After I calmed down, everything suddenly became clear. Honestly, it wasn't like I lost anything. If anything, I got a free night with a luxury-grade sugar daddy. I told myself firmly, if I fall for Liam Carter again, I swear I'm a damn puppy. Rumors started swirling around the office not long after. They said I had something going on with the CEO. But the truth? Our relationship was colder than a Midwest winter. Eventually, after enough gossip, the whole office seemed to agree on one conclusion. Liam Carter dumped me. And that was the polite version. The meaner rumors? That I tried to seduce him, but got brutally rejected. I honestly treated all those rumors like a running joke. Come on, I was the one who dumped him back then. What's there to feel ashamed about? But that wasn't even the biggest headache in my life right now. What really kept me up at night was the life or death phone call I got from my mother. "Your cousin's wedding is this weekend. If you don't bring a boyfriend home this time, don't bother showing up. I'll lose all face." Before I could even respond, she hung up. Just like that. Staring at the now black screen, I could only sigh. My cousin, who's 5 years younger than me, was getting married. And apparently, her future in-laws were loaded. The thing is, my mom and her aunt, aka the groom's mom, have never gotten along. This wedding? Just another excuse for her to brag. Lately, Mom had been calling me way more than usual. Clearly, she was deeply triggered by this. If I didn't go home, she might actually rip me apart. But where the hell was I supposed to find a boyfriend on such short notice? While I was brooding over it, someone walked past me. I shouted on instinct, "William Lambert?" He jumped, startled, and turned around slowly. "Secretary Tran, is something wrong?" That's it. He's perfect. Tall, honest-looking face, quiet demeanor. Wrap him up right, and he'd totally pass as boyfriend material. I stared at him so hard he started to fidget. "Is there something on my face?" William Lambert was Liam Carter's driver. Whenever we went on business trips, I usually rode in his car. Over time, we'd gone from polite small talk to full-on gossiping about our mutual boss. He was the only one who believed nothing ever happened between me and Liam, especially after hearing the colorful language I used to describe him. Definitely not fit for broadcast. I dragged William into the break room. After gritting my teeth and handing over $200, he finally agreed to be my fake boyfriend. We were just about to walk out when, of course, Liam Carter showed up from the opposite hallway. His sharp eyes scanned back and forth between me and William. "What were you two doing in there?" William instantly ducked behind me like a guilty puppy. Now it really looked like we were hiding something shady. But even if something had happened, what right did Liam have to interrogate us? "It's our lunch break, Mr. Carter," I said calmly. "Our personal matters don't need to be reported to you, right?" Liam let out a sharp laugh, the kind that came from pure irritation. "You really look like someone who already has a husband." That line made William practically jump out of his skin. "Secretary Tran, if you're married, why would you ask me to pretend to be your boyfriend?" William Lambert's voice was full of confusion. I groaned, rubbing my temples. The more I explain, the worse it sounds. Under Liam Carter's sharp, questioning gaze, William finally caved and spilled everything, my whole brilliant fake boyfriend plan. To calm things down, I had no choice but to explain the husband situation too. It was a ridiculous misunderstanding. My old phone broke, and since I couldn't afford a new one right away, I had to borrow my best friend's backup phone. She'd never wiped her contact list, and I didn't bother to change it either. That morning, her real husband, who I swear was suffering from a mental lapse, called me at 7 a.m., shouting at me to heart his latest Facebook post. Just one more like, and he'd win a free rice cooker. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the desperation. Later that evening, I met up with William to pick out a boyfriend-worthy outfit. Except, Liam showed up instead. "Where's William?" I asked, startled. "I sent him to pick someone else up," he said. Then, "What are you doing here?" Liam looked awkward for a second, then muttered, "I figured I could help instead." "Come again?" "If there's nothing else, I'll just head out," I said, turning to leave. Who wants to see their boss after hours? I'd much rather be watching Netflix at home. But he reached out and pulled me back. "I want to take you to dinner," he said. I instinctively refused. Then he added through gritted teeth, "We'll call it overtime. You'll be compensated." Money talks. I grinned and agreed on the spot. Liam took me to a fancy restaurant. Definitely not a place I'd take myself to. "Tracy," he said as we sat down, "I don't think William is convincing as your fake boyfriend." I was mid-chew on a massive piece of filet mignon, tender as a dream, no shame. "And why's that?" "He's not an actor. You two barely know each other. Your relatives will spot the fake immediately." I nodded. That actually made sense. "I was thinking," I said, "I'd tell him to be quiet and act mysterious. Cold, aloof, high-end vibe." Liam raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. "Huh." Unexpectedly thoughtful of him to even give advice. "What were you about to say earlier?" I asked. He took a deep breath, then shook his head. "Nothing. Just eat." Then he downed half a glass of red wine in one gulp. Do rich people always drink wine like it's soda? I wondered. I didn't touch mine. As a result, I stayed perfectly sober. Liam, on the other hand, was completely hammered. If even red wine is consumed like water, not even gods could stay standing. I called William Lambert. "Liam's drunk. Get over here and drive him home." "Secretary Tran?" He replied helplessly. "Mr. Carter sent me on a work trip to Austin. I can't come." I wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't even come. Liam Carter, completely wasted, wouldn't stop pestering me. I finally snapped and smacked him across the face. Hard. At last, the world went quiet. And just like that, I was dragging a half-conscious CEO back to my apartment. Panting and out of breath, I shoved him off my shoulder. He collapsed onto the floor with a dull thud. I thought for sure that would wake him up, but he didn't move. Annoyed, I gave him 2 more kicks for good measure. "Stupid, entitled man-child." Liam turned his back to me and groaned softly, his face tightening in pain. The stench of alcohol hit my nose. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my pajamas and rushed into the shower. Water streamed down from the shower head, washing away the chaos of the day. Suddenly, I felt a firm chest press against my back. I shrieked, but a warm hand clamped over my mouth before the sound escaped. Lips brushed against my ear. His deep, hoarse voice whispered, "Tracy, it's me." A shiver ran through my whole body, especially when I felt something very specific pressing into me from behind. He spun me around and kissed me, hard. It was the kind of kiss that punished, that demanded. A kiss that said, "You dared to slap me? Let me show you the consequences." The kiss grew deeper, rougher, more possessive, like he wanted to devour me whole. Only when I was on the brink of suffocating did he finally let go. "You're shameless," I gasped. Liam laughed darkly. "Oh, I can be much worse." He knew my body too well. And I completely lost control. I could only cling to him as he did whatever he wanted. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. The bed beside me was empty. Liam had left behind a short message on my phone. "Take the day off. No need to come to the office." Same old Liam. He was the one who exhausted me all night and still had the energy to go about his day like nothing happened. Life is unfair. Not wanting to face him again so soon, I filed for a day off and headed home to visit my parents. No sooner had I stepped into the house than my mom launched into a tirade. I glanced at my dad, silently begging for help. He casually picked up his tea and slipped out. "Good luck." traitor. Mom's tone instantly flipped 180 degrees. All right, tell me all about him. What does he do? What's his personality like? I described William Lambert as a hardworking, ambitious man with a strong sense of responsibility, working under the CEO at a prestigious company. Honestly, it wasn't even a lie. In many ways, it was spot on. And thanks to that convincing description, I finally earned myself a few days of peace. During that time, Liam Carter had texted me, asking if I had gone back to my hometown. I didn't reply. My feelings for him were still a tangled mess, and the last thing I needed was to give myself false hope. My cousin's wedding was held right on schedule. I stood outside the hotel entrance, nervously scanning the street. William Lambert said he'd be there in 10 minutes. That was over an hour ago. Mom was even more anxious than I was, asking over and over where my boyfriend was. She'd already bragged about him to every single relative in existence. If I embarrassed her today, she'd definitely end me. That useless William. Not only was he late, he wasn't even picking up his phone. Finally, the call went through. Hello? Where are you? The ceremony is about to start. Get over here. I'm so sorry, Secretary Tran, he said, panic in his voice. I can't come. Mr. Carter gave me a last-minute task. It's urgent. What? I'm really, really sorry. And then, he hung up. I stomped my foot in frustration. There's no doubt in my mind, Liam Carter was behind this. He knew how important today was to me, and he still chose to mess things up. But now wasn't the time to get revenge. First priority, calm Mom down. I returned to my seat beside her, just as one of my nosy aunts decided to strike. So, Noelle, where's this mysterious boyfriend of yours? Haven't seen him yet. Bullseye. Her boyfriend's very successful, Mom jumped in to cover. Probably tied up with something important. All I could do was offer a tight, awkward smile. But the vultures weren't letting up. Really? Noelle, don't tell me you're gonna say he couldn't make it at the last minute. Maybe there was never a boyfriend to begin with? Don't tell me you saw your cousin marry into a wealthy family and made up a fake boyfriend just to save face? My aunt pounced on the opportunity, and the rest of the relatives chimed in like a chorus of judgment. They were relishing the chance to watch me fall flat on my face. I stared coldly at their friendly smiles. Then, ouch! Mom pinched my thigh under the table. Fine. I couldn't let her lose face like this. Plastering on a composed smile, I stood up and cleared my throat. Everyone, please relax. My boyfriend is… Before I could finish, a sudden commotion broke out at the entrance. All heads turned, and there he was. Tall, elegant, radiating power. That unmistakable presence walked straight into the room, commanding attention like he owned the place. Liam Carter. I gasped and stood up in shock. Liam Carter spotted me from across the room, smiled, and walked quickly toward me. When he reached me, he casually wrapped an arm around my shoulders, looking effortlessly affectionate. Sorry I'm late, Noelle, he said warmly. Traffic was insane. I stared at him, stunned. What? What is happening right now? My cousin's husband, who had been arrogantly calling me by my first name just a minute ago, immediately changed his tune. Cousin Noelle, why didn't you tell us your boyfriend was Mr. Carter? He now wore the smile of a salesman and bowed so low he nearly broke his spine. Unbelievable. This was the first time I'd ever heard him call me Cousin Noelle. Before today, he always just joined my cousin in mocking me. Around us, the relatives began whispering among themselves. They could all tell Liam Carter was not your average boyfriend. My aunt's face went through a full RGB cycle, red, white, flushed, on repeat. Meanwhile, Liam was the picture of calm, acting as if everything was perfectly natural. He looked down at me with a soft, doting smile. There's nothing to hide. She just doesn't like to be flashy, he said. I had to beg her to let me come. Then, in full boss mode, he pulled out a thick red envelope and handed it to my cousin's husband. Congratulations on the wedding. I heard several people around us gasp. He wasn't even my real boyfriend, and yet… My heart couldn't help but ache a little. This man, who used to nickel and dime me to death, just handed over a solid cash gift like it was pocket change. My aunt's attitude did a full 180. She suddenly beamed at him like he was her long-lost son. All the relatives who had just been gossiping about me, now overly friendly, laughing and joking, pretending they never doubted me at all. My cousin's husband, terrified of appearing rude, kept rushing back and forth, pouring drinks, groveling like a waiter at a VIP table. In over 20 years of living, I had never seen my mom smile so hard for so long. I was honestly afraid she might pull a muscle. Everything felt like a dream. At one point, she even leaned over and whispered suspiciously, "You didn't hire this guy, did you?" If only I could tell her the truth. I did hire someone, Mom, but then he bailed, and Liam showed up instead. After the wedding ended and night fell, I planned to escort my parents home, but Mom wouldn't let go of Liam's hand. "So Liam, where are you staying tonight?" she asked sweetly. "Mom," I interrupted quickly, "he can stay wherever he wants. There are plenty of hotels around." I shot Liam a look. Please, take the hint. But no, of course not. This man had the nerve to act pitiful. "Well, Mr. and Mrs. Tran," he sighed, "seems Noelle isn't very welcoming tonight. I guess I'll just find a place nearby to crash." Mom's smile vanished as she shot a glare straight at me. "Unbelievable. You're not going to let him stay? Go on, Liam, come home with us. If she won't host you, I will." Even my dad, my usual silent ally, joined Team Mom without hesitation. Our house had only 2 bedrooms. Naturally, I assumed Liam would sleep on the couch. Wrong. The first person to object was my mom. No, let him sleep in your room," she insisted firmly. "The sofa's no place for a guest." I was speechless. Even Liam looked surprised. "Wow, Mrs. Tran," he said innocently. "You're so open-minded." I glared at him. "Keep pretending, Liam. Just keep pretending." Inside the room, I crossed my arms and glared at him. "Talk. What exactly is going on today?" But instead of answering, Liam Carter began unbuttoning his shirt, slowly. His eyes never left mine. "Noelle," he said, "I need a quick shower." Each button undone revealed more of his toned chest. His movements became increasingly bold. "You shameless man," I hissed. "You're still trying to seduce me at a time like this?" "Not until you explain everything," I added, stepping back cautiously. He paused, his eyes tired, red-rimmed. His voice was hoarse. "Noelle, I drove all night to get here. I haven't slept at all." He leaned against the door, looking thoroughly worn down. His shirt now half open, showing off a well-defined torso and abs sculpted like art. Paired with his devastatingly handsome face, he was dangerously magnetic. I swallowed hard. A part of me wanted nothing more than to wrap my arms around him, but I quickly shook the thought away. "Focus, Noelle. Don't let beauty blind you." I grabbed a blanket and darted toward the door. "You take the bed, I'll sleep on the couch." Before I could make it out, Liam wrapped his arms around my waist and lifted me off the ground. "Keep your voice down," he whispered near my ear. "Don't wake your parents." I slapped a hand over my mouth, afraid to make a sound. I tried to struggle, but despite looking exhausted a moment ago, Liam was ridiculously strong. He carried me to the bed, sat down, and rested his head gently on my shoulder. With a soft sigh, he murmured, "Noelle, I'm not letting you go again. If you can't be with the one you think you love, then stay with me." To be honest, anyone who said they wouldn't be touched by that was lying. Liam Carter, proud and untouchable, lowering himself like this, thinking I had feelings for someone else and still willing to stay beside me. I exhaled slowly and wrapped my arms around him. "Liam," I said softly, "what if I told you that whole thing about me liking someone else was made up? Would you believe me?" His head lifted. He held my face in both hands, his voice almost trembling. "Are you serious?" I told him everything, why I lied, what I felt, what I regretted. When I finished, He looked furious. "You idiot," he muttered. "You broke my heart for months." I shot back. "Why didn't you just tell me who you were? Why show up with nothing, like a broke drifter?" Turns out, back then, he had rejected a family-arranged marriage for my sake and left everything behind. And I'd sent him away. Guilt crashed into me like a wave. Thankfully, his family eventually gave in after seeing how determined he was. That's how he got to return and rise again. Now that everything was clear between us, he whispered near my ear, "Then let's not waste any more time." I woke to the sound of laughter and clinking dishes. My hand reached across the bed, but the other side was empty. Then I remembered. We were still at my parents' place. I bolted upright and rushed to open the door. There, in the dining room, sat my parents and Liam Carter, happily chatting and eating breakfast together like it was the most normal thing in the world. Liam turned, grinned, and pulled out a chair for me. "Sit down and eat, sleepyhead." Is this my house or his now? Before we left to return to New York, Liam made sure to buy a mountain of gifts for my parents and even promised to come back formally next time. If I didn't have unfinished business back in the city, my mom would have tied us both up and made us stay another week. I realized pretty quickly that Liam wasn't driving toward my apartment. "Where are we going?" I asked, confused. He shot me a mysterious smile. "To see our honeymoon house." I rolled my eyes. "Who said I was marrying you? Take it back." But he just smirked. "You're mine already. Where do you think you're running to?" That smug tone of his left me speechless. The car sped up, and we pulled into a different neighborhood. When I stepped into the apartment, I froze. Every piece of furniture, every decoration, was exactly how I once described my dream home to him. My nose tingled, and tears welled in my eyes. I turned to him and threw my arms around his neck. "Liam, why are you so good to me?" He hugged me tightly and whispered, "Because you deserve the best of everything." Overcome with emotion, I leaned in and kissed him. He kissed my forehead gently and said, "Get some rest." I closed my eyes, heart full, and drifted into peaceful sleep. When I woke up, I went downstairs to look for him, and there he was, in silk pajamas, wearing an apron, cooking in the kitchen. He moved so naturally, washing veggies, slicing, stirring like a pro. The scene pulled me straight back to the early days, when we were still living together. He glanced back and saw me. "Almost done," he smiled. He wouldn't let me help and gently pushed me out of the kitchen. Not long after, the whole place was filled with the mouth-watering aroma of food. The dining table was covered with all my favorite dishes. That's when it hit me. Liam Carter loved me far more than I'd ever imagined. I also discovered something else. Liam was a massive, jealous boyfriend. Because of me, William Lambert got transferred to another department, and his driver was replaced with a much older man. One time, I ran into William at the office and tried to greet him, but he turned and bolted the moment he saw me. He probably never expected his wingman to turn out to be a spy. Liam had asked several times to take me home and meet his parents, but I kept dodging it. I knew the gap between our worlds was too big, and if they found out he once ran away from home for me, I was sure they'd hate me. What I didn't expect was for that moment to come much sooner than I thought, and under the most awkward circumstances imaginable. At home, Liam could get handsy at literally any time. That day, we were cuddling on the couch, getting a little too cozy, when the door opened. A middle-aged couple walked in, right on cue. "So this is why you never visit anymore," his mom said, giving Liam a playful scolding, but her tone was surprisingly gentle. My palms began to sweat. Any shred of dignity I had left? Gone. Obliterated. Sensing how stiff I was, Liam Carter gently put an arm around my shoulder and leaned in. "Mom," he said softly, "don't scare Noelle." I shot him a death glare. "You're seriously trying to kill me, aren't you?" I turned to gauge his mom's reaction, but to my shock, she didn't look upset at all. Instead, she smiled brightly. Already forgetting about your future mother-in-law? She teased. Noelle, don't listen to this scoundrel. Come on, let me show you around. I had always assumed wealthy families would be cold, arrogant, maybe a little uptight. But Liam's parents were warm and welcoming, especially his mom. She kept offering me dish after dish, insisting I try everything. If she saw something pretty, she bought it for me on the spot. Later, when we got tired, she brought me to a spa. While we were relaxing, she opened up. She said they'd known about me for a long time. When Liam first came back, he threw himself into work. At first, they were relieved. He was being responsible. But soon, they realized something was wrong. He drank recklessly, came home late, looking hollow. He'd mutter my name in his sleep, say I abandoned him. I froze, too ashamed to meet her eyes. But she just patted my hand gently and smiled. You've got a good head on your shoulders, sweetheart, she said. That boy of mine always had it easy. This was the first time he ever learned what heartbreak felt like. He's been too much to handle for years. I'm just glad someone can finally keep him in check. Ma'am, I've always loved Liam, I whispered. She nodded. I know. She even admitted they'd done a full background check on me. When they found out I wasn't trying to live off him, when they saw how hard I worked, they were convinced my feelings were real. Then she dropped the bombshell. It was Liam who orchestrated me getting fired from my last job. That jerk. I was stressed for months because of that stunt. That night, I confronted him. He just laughed and kissed my cheek over and over, whispering, Noelle, don't be mad, okay? We, of course, ended up arguing at the head of the bed and making up at the foot of it. Our wedding was held the following summer. My story became the stuff of legends in multiple companies. Career goal, marry the boss. Maybe not so crazy after all. It wasn't until our 3rd year of marriage that I finally got pregnant. Liam looked at me like the world was ending. Babe, does this mean I have to become a monk? I snickered silently. He had no idea how it happened. He thought we'd been careful. He didn't know I had made a few discreet adjustments behind the scenes. If I had left it to him, he would have postponed having kids for another 5 years. Later, when our baby boy was born, he completely stole all my attention, to the point where Liam Carter got jealous of his own son. Eventually, Liam sent the baby to his grandparents' house for a weekend and whisked me away on a spontaneous getaway abroad. The moment we stepped into the hotel room, Liam Carter couldn't hold back any longer. He pulled me into a kiss, deep, urgent, full of longing. Then he gently took my hand and placed it at his waist. Babe, he whispered against my lips. Help me. I could feel how tightly he'd been holding back all this time. Silently, I helped undo his belt, my fingers brushing against his skin.